All right, so the next thing to talk about today is the Switch Witch. You and I have talked about this in the past,
Yes.
but if you guys listening aren't familiar, the Switch Witch is basically like Elf on a Shelf, but for Halloween. It's when a kid goes trick-or-treating and they bring home like a boatload of candy. What you do is you say to your kid, pick out 5 pieces of candy from your load that you really love, and you're going to keep those 5 pieces. And then we're going to leave the rest outside for the Switch Witch, who's going to magically replace all your candy with a toy. I think this is totally cute. People who love it really love it. They say that the tradition keeps their kids from eating too much junk food and it makes Halloween a little more exciting. But of course, there are people who hate it. And this year, it seems to have really sparked a debate online because there's one person who posted about this tradition, and the comments were flooded with, I mean, people were pissed. One person said, "What happened to parents letting kids enjoy Halloween?" Another slammed the idea, saying, "Literally cheating your kid out of a childhood." Someone else weighed in, said the Switch Witch is the Grinch of October 31st. But then more on a more serious note, other people were saying like Halloween is so close to Christmas. We're already on a tight budget. Putting this pressure on parents to buy toys is outrageous. And another parent said that their parents did this to them and it was actually detrimental to their relationship with food. They said everything was motivated and restricted. So when I had a chance to have some unhealthy food when they weren't around, I went wild with it. And they went
Mhm.
on to warn, don't do this to your kids. Teach them that the candy will always be there so they don't have to eat it all at once. Build a good relationship with food rather than restricting the quote bad food. So I want to
Yeah.
know how you feel about this. I have a very strong opinion, but I'm curious about yours.
I feel really conflicted about this
Okay.
because, Kaya doesn't get, she's only 16 months, so she's never had candy before, right? The first time she had cake was on her first birthday. And this weekend, I let her try like a little sliver of a cookie, to which she loved it. And then I was like, "Can you say cookie?" And then she says cookie. And then she does the sign for more, like she wants more. And then immediately after, she went bonkers like it was a sugar high, right? Like everything was funny to her. She was laughing up a storm. And it was so clear to me that like the impact that sugar can have on kids. I also, going back to the whole like fear algorithm of the internet, see like how many bad ingredients are in these candies. Like, food additives and color additives and chemicals, like all this stuff in this candy that has changed from when we were kids, right? Like there's worse stuff in the foods. And so knowing that, it's hard to be like on board with just letting my kid have as much candy as she wants, because then I feel like I'm being a bad parent. But I also, yes, I want her to enjoy all these things. I don't want her to have a bad relationship with food ever. Like, I'm so grateful that my parents never did that to us, because I feel like I have a nice relationship with food now.
Yeah.
And I know so many of my friends that like have struggled with, eating disorders and all this stuff growing up. And I'm so grateful that I didn't.
Yeah.
And so I think, in time, I'll be able to tell like how I really feel about it. Like right now, yes, we're going to take her. I got her a Halloween costume. She's going to be a lion because her favorite stuffed animal is a lion. I
Love
thought
it.
that was cute. She's not really going to eat a ton of candy. We might let her have like a piece of candy, but she's 16 months old. She's not even 2 years old yet.
Yeah.
And so I'm not really sure how I feel about this yet. I think I need to wait a year or two to see, when she's like 3 and 4,
Mhm.
what that vibe is. What are your thoughts? Because Dylan is older.
Yeah. And in this house, I am really trying to make the narrative around food very positive. Nothing is
Too
off
much sugar.
limits per
Yeah.
se. Like we are trying to keep everything, we have the good fortune of being able to afford organic food. So I'm only buying organic. I'm really invested in providing healthy food.
Hmm.
But when she's not outside of this house, if she's at a friend's house or if she's at school or whatever, I'm not going to be crazy about it. Like
Yeah.
birthday cakes at a friend's party. Like, yes.
Right.
But I'm trying to make the narrative like on the day to day, we eat food that nourishes us, that makes us healthy. But like yesterday, we made chocolate chip cookies with the family and we had donuts, apple cider donuts. And I think moderation is key. And I'd love to be
Totally.
able to teach her that you can have what you want when you want it, but try to really nourish yourself. And I don't want her relationship with food to be complicated. I don't want her relationship with food to be um, negative. I think women already have enough to deal
Yeah.
with, but I want to set the right foundation. So I actually love the Switch Witch. I think this is a great idea because you're not saying you can't have candy. You're just saying we don't need a full pillowcase full of sugar.
Well, maybe
Pick the
there's a
ones.
way that we can let them choose, right? Like you get to choose your candies that you want, and then do you want to trade in the candy for a toy or do you want to keep the candy?
That's a great idea. Yeah, make it their choice. I
Yeah.
think I get the thing about money, like times are tough. And,
Yeah.
I do think though kids love the dollar store. Or we could say, like, we're going to trade in the candy for a day at the park, make it something that's fun for them. Anyway, I actually think it's a great idea. I
Yeah.
don't hate it. And I think if it works for parents, I think it's a good
Also,
idea.
like another option is like limit the trick or treating. You don't need to go to 50 houses. Maybe
Sure.
you maybe you go to 5 or 6 houses and you only get 5 or 6 pieces of
Yeah.
candy.
You know what this
You
also
know?
totally, and this kind of reminds me of around Christmas. I've heard this great idea where kids, when you're making your list for Santa, what you do is you say, okay, we're going to find 5 toys that we don't play with anymore that we're going to donate to kids who need it. And we're going to leave it out for Santa to take to other kids. It's sort of the same idea. It's just teaching this like
Yeah, you have to make
moderation and
choices
give in.
too.
Yeah, yeah. I don't hate it. So